What's up YouTube? Capital G here. Got a really spicy FTK that I want to show you guys, and before somebody smashes that dislike button, just understand the name of this video is obviously a little bit of tongue-in-cheek humor, and I didn't even come up with the name Thicc Loop. Somebody, when they sent this play to me, it was already named the Thicc Loop, and obviously that name comes from the fact that, you know, the entire Amazoness archetype is obviously like female. So this is an Amazoness FTK, and it's interesting because this one doesn't really rely that much on Amazoness Archer. It doesn't like focus around that card. I believe that right now there's actually like an Infernity Link FTK that uses Archer like over and over. Obviously Firewall Dragon is in the mix because that card is absolutely busted, but yeah, this one actually focuses around Black Garden and Amazoness Princess, and it's basically a 3-card FTK. You do have to go second because you're essentially going to be getting an infinite amount of attacks, not an infinite amount, but enough attacks to do 8,000 damage. And you'll need an Amazoness Princess, you'll need an Amazoness Fighting Spirit, and you'll need Black Garden. And all of those cards are searchable, and you'll actually need a copy of Amazoness Call because you need the second effect of that. So when he activates that card, I'll actually stop and I'll explain what it does. So the first thing you're going to do, and actually he goes second, which again, you actually need to go second in this. Don't ask me, by the way. I know somebody's like, Cap G, why didn't this guy make Merkaba? I'm not the one playing, guys. I don't know why he didn't make Merkaba. So yeah, you can run excuse me, I apologize about clearing my throat constantly. So yeah, you can run a bunch of things like Reload and Magical Mouth and stuff like that into the Void. I mean, if you don't win during your first turn, you're not going to win. This deck cannot grind or anything like that. The way that it operates is, and he has his Amazoness Call, which is important. You have to have Amazoness Call. You have to have those 3 cards, an Amazoness Call, a Black Garden, and then either Access, or you either need a Princess or you need Fighting Spirit at that point. So what you're going to do is you're going to play Black Garden first, and then you're going to summon your Amazoness Princess. And at that point, you could either have played Amazoness Call to get Princess, or you can activate Amazoness Call to get Fighting Spirit. And what happens is, obviously you guys know what Black Garden does. It cuts every monster that is summoned, it cuts their attack in half, and it gives your opponent a token in attack mode. I believe it's 800 attack, and here's the reason why this FTK works, because of so many like random parts. There's so many like random parts. He has it on board, and let me explain what's going to happen. So your Amazon Princess is going to get cut in half, and she's going to become 600 attack. So your monster on the field is actually lower than the token, and that's the reason why the FTK actually works, because this card right here, Amazon Fighting Spirit, or Amazoness Fighting Spirit, it actually gives your monster 1,000 attack if you're attacking into a monster with higher attack. During damage calculation, you get 1,000 attack. So when you attack this token, your attack is actually going to go to 1,600, and you're going to do 800 battle damage to your opponent. And I know you guys are probably thinking, well, Cap, if you just attack a token, I don't really get how that 800 damage translates into an FTK. Aha, but second effects are important, and both of the key cards in this FTK, well, actually, like every key card in this FTK has a second effect. Number 1, the Amazoness Call. This might be the best Rhoda clone ever created in Yu-Gi-Oh! This card is phenomenal. Well, I don't know, either this or like Charger the Light Brigade, because that does mill 3. So this card has a second effect. Obviously, it can get you all your Amazoness cards. It can't search another copy of itself, but you can actually banish this card from your graveyard, and then you target a monster on your field, an Amazoness monster, and that Amazoness monster can attack every single monster on your opponent's side of the field, but that's the only monster that can attack. So basically, she can attack every single token that you force your opponent to get, and the way that you constantly force your opponent to get tokens is you activate her second effect, which is not once per turn. I'm not sure if Konami ever thought that somebody would combine these 3 cards together and make such a silly play, but yeah, it happened. The second effect says, if I can get it without clicking on Black Garden like an idiot, when this card declares an attack, you can send one other card from your hand or field to the graveyard. Special summon an Amazoness monster from your deck in defense position, except another copy of Princess. So you guys should kind of understand what happens here. You basically are going to take the Princess, you're going to ram into the token, you activate her effect, you get rid of any random card in your hand, and you summon another Amazoness monster in defense mode. At that point, your opponent is forced to get a token, and you attack again. You give up another card from your hand, and then you give up basically constantly cards from your hand until you start giving up cards from your field, and the cards from your field basically just replace themselves. You're replacing one card from your field with another card in your deck, and it's like you get an unlimited amount of attacks, and each time you're doing 800 battle damage to your opponent. So you only need 10 attacks, and even if you draw too many monsters, it doesn't actually matter because you play Amazon as Archer as well, the card that I was talking about earlier in the video. You play that just to do a little bit more damage to, you know, potentially finish your opponent off. So you see that he's giving up cards from his hand, and then he just starts giving up cards from his field, and it doesn't really matter because the cards from your field just replace each other, and you constantly force your opponent to actually get tokens on the field, and then she keeps on running into them. And again, if you run low on monsters, if you don't have any monsters, or if you only have like one monster in your deck, usually that monster should be Amazon as Archer. The reason you play it is just to do a little more battle damage if you want to play Upstart Goblin in this deck or something like that. If you need to do over 8,000 damage, the Amazon as Archer can actually do like 1,600 damage of you know, she can do 1,600 effect damage as well. And it's just a really cool, dank little funny play because you get this one little chick and she just constantly attacks like every single monster on the board, and you just constantly force your opponent to get more. So he leaves him with 800 life points just so he can use the Archer in. Even if he had more life points, like if he would have activated Upstart Goblin, he still would have been able to you know, activate Amazon as Archer again, or you could just keep going for more monsters. It kind of depends, you know, the amount of monsters that you want to run in this deck, and it depends on how many monsters you open with. Like if you open with too many monsters but you still have your 3-card combo, then you might need to use Amazon as Archer, you know, a little earlier, and you might not be able to afford to use something like Upstart Goblin. I probably would just recommend you don't use Upstart Goblin. So this one is against Dark Magician. And the Dark Magician player actually misplayed hard. Like I played Dark Magician, right? So if he just would have left if he just would have left the illusion in his hand, I get that he got a rod, which is fine, but he's gonna get, like, you know, he's gonna get fucking FTK'd. But if he would have he could have left the Magician in his hand, he could have activated Eternal Soul, resolved the effect, and then he could have chained the Magician of Dark Illusion, and he would have had Eternal Soul. He would have been able to banish and completely break up the FTK. And obviously, guys, in a deck like this, I mean, you basically win turn one or you don't win. That's why things like Magical Mallet and Reload and garbage like Hand Destruction, that's why all these shitty ass cards are in this deck, because you need to basically get the FTK or you're going to lose. You know what I mean? This deck has no traps. It doesn't have any backup plans or anything like that. But this is just a funny little FTK that I wanted to show with you guys. And I know somebody's like, Cap, gee, this is so old. I mean, I guess that's possible, but like Amazon as Princess came out, and I mean, she's a brand new card from the Duelist Pack 18, like the same set that the Red Eye / Dragon and stuff is coming out in. So I don't understand how this can be like an old FTK when she is like a brand new card. So I don't want anybody to be like, that Cap, gee, this is like 10 years old, man. I've seen it on 18 other channels. You may have seen it on other channels, but it's still a fairly new play. So, you know, I'll probably pause after this and show you guys the deck profile, and you know, I'm pretty sure a couple of people are gonna want to troll with this. Hey, maybe this will be the most competitive version of Amazon. It's such a shame that they nerfed Empress, because on the anime she was busted, man. I was so looking forward to that. But let me go ahead and pause this, give you guys the deck profile really quickly. So this is what the deck actually looks like on paper, and there's nothing too crazy, nothing that is that unexpected in this deck. There may be a couple of cards that I actually have to explain. The first is maybe Glow Up Bulb. If you're wondering why this is in here, well, you have a couple of ways of actually getting it out of your hand. If you happen to draw it, you can discard it with Hand Destruction, or you can get it out of your hand with the Amazon as Princess. And if you don't get her, then I mean, the deck doesn't work, obviously, and you're going to lose anyway. So if you get Princess, you can get rid of your Glow Up Bulb that way. You can summon it back, and when it's back on the field, obviously you can use it for like Amazon as Archer if you need to do a little more burn damage. I mean, it summons back for free, so there's pretty much no harm in running this, since you have like 6 ways of actually getting it out of your hand. Raigeki is a nice touch. I think Raigeki actually works better in a deck like this than something like Maxi. I know that sounds kind of weird because this deck does always want to go second. The problem with Maxi is if you happen to run into something like a synchro deck or an opponent who's just not going to stop, they're like, damn, I need to make my board, you know, I need to get my Trident and my, you know, my freaking Digusto Emerald and stuff like that, and your opponent lets you draw like 5 cards, and all 5 of those cards happen to be monsters. The problem is you're not going to have anything left in your deck to actually summon from Amazon Princess, so that actually can mess you up. So it's better to have those cards in your deck for the Amazon as Princess and just get something like, well, cross your fingers and hope that you have something like Raigeki, where where you'd be able to just nuke your opponent's board, you know, get rid of the Trident or the Crystal Wing or something like that, that would stop you from being able to pull this off. And I mean, pretty much other than that, the deck is fairly self-explanatory. You know, things like one Twin Twister, you can't run that many copies of this. This is just in case your opponent does happen to open with things like Strike or Torrential Tribute to potentially get rid of those. The rest of the deck is basically just, you know, draw cards and consistency cards. You run things like Black Garden, and you just run things to get it. Your Terraforming gets your Black Garden. Your Amazoness Call is basically a rota for all of this stuff, including the Amazoness Fighting Spirit. You only need to run one copy of this because you only need one copy. If it does get blown up with like MSC or something, I mean, you're pretty much just shit out of luck at that point. I mean, you can add another copy if you're feeling, I guess, that paranoid that your card's going to get destroyed, but for the most part, I think you want to keep this deck at 40 cards. And some people might be wondering, Cap, you are running, you know, Glow Up Bulb. Should you run any synchro monsters? You can if you want. Like, if you want to run Neteria Beast in here, because you can actually, you know, summon it with Amazoness Archer, which I wouldn't recommend. I'd use her for the burn damage. You know, go ahead. If you want to run some synchros in this deck, you know, knock yourself out. It's not really necessary. You're not really going to be going into the extra deck. The whole reason that I have Amazoness Empress up here, because obviously she is waifu material, and she's the best looking Amazoness in the archetype, and obviously she's the most powerful. So, you know, gotta have the head bitch in charge up here. But other than that, the deck is pretty much self-explanatory. So if you guys enjoyed the video, or if you guys enjoy trolling with these type of shitty FTKs, let me know in the comment section below, or give the video a thumbs up. Thank you guys for watching as always, and subscribe if you have not already.